A thin ribbon of smoke rises into the cold mountain air. It drifts silently between jagged stones, twisting with the wind before disappearing into the darkness above. No cities exist here, no kingdoms, no written language, only a small circle of people gathered around a fire, watching glowing embers breathe beneath blackened rocks. One of them reaches toward the flames and places a bundle of dried plants onto the heat. The smell changes. The smoke becomes thicker, different. No one speaks. For a few quiet moments, they simply sit, breathing. And somewhere inside one of those minds, reality begins to shift. Most people think cannabis is a modern habit, something associated with festivals, counterculture, medicine, or crime, a plant whose story begins only a few centuries ago. But that is not where this story begins. Its origins lie thousands of years before the first empire ever rose. Before Rome, before Egypt built its greatest pyramids, before history had names, long before humans understood chemistry, medicine, or even agriculture, they had already formed a relationship with a strange wild plant that could alter perception itself. The question is not whether ancient humans knew cannabis. They did. The real mystery is why they sought it in the first place, because the earliest evidence suggests they were not simply growing food, nor were they merely searching for medicine. They were searching for something far less tangible, something invisible. For thousands of years, archaeologists believed the oldest civilizations only used cannabis as a practical resource. Its strong fibers became rope, its stalks became cloth, its seeds became food, a useful plant, nothing more. That explanation seemed reasonable until the mountains began giving up their dead. High above the deserts of western China, near the towering Pamir Mountains, where the air grows thin and the landscape feels almost detached from the rest of the world, archaeologists uncovered a cemetery, unlike any they had seen before. The graves were nearly 2,500 years old. The people buried there carried no written records, no surviving language, no explanation for their rituals, only silence. And inside several of those ancient tombs rested simple wooden braziers, small bowls blackened by fire. At first glance, they seemed ordinary, just another object buried with the dead. But science has a habit of asking questions that ancient people never expected anyone to answer. When researchers analyzed the charred residue left inside those braziers, they discovered microscopic chemical traces that had survived for more than 2 millennia. Those traces belonged to cannabis, not ordinary cannabis. Cannabis unusually rich in THC, the psychoactive compound responsible for altering consciousness. That discovery changed everything because it suggested these people were not burning the plant for warmth, not for food, not for rope. They were deliberately inhaling its smoke inside a cemetery during funeral rituals. It was the oldest direct evidence ever found of humans intentionally using cannabis for its mind-altering effects. Suddenly, the familiar story of cannabis became much older and far stranger. Why would an ancient community climb into one of the harshest landscapes on Earth simply to burn a psychoactive plant while burying their dead? The answer may have had little to do with intoxication. Across nearly every early civilization, death was never viewed as an ending. It was treated as a crossing, a passage from one world into another. And throughout history, humans have repeatedly searched for ways to stand at the edge of that invisible boundary. Some fasted, some danced until exhaustion, some entered caves alone for days, others consumed plants capable of reshaping perception itself. Perhaps they believed altered consciousness allowed them to communicate with ancestors. Perhaps it revealed spirits hidden beyond ordinary sight. Or perhaps it simply softened the unbearable weight of grief. The research cannot tell us what they believed, but it tells us something equally important. They returned to the ritual again and again and again. That repetition reveals intention. Yet the story stretches even further back. Long before those mountain ceremonies, cannabis had already spread across the vast grasslands of Central Asia. It grew wild across open plains, where early hunter-gatherers followed migrating animals through landscapes that changed with every season. These people possessed no laboratories, no microscopes, no chemistry, only observation. Generation after generation, they watched the natural world with extraordinary attention. They learned which berries healed, which which mushrooms killed, which roots eased pain, which leaves poisoned rivers. And somewhere along that endless chain of observation, someone discovered that one particular flowering plant could transform the human mind. No one knows who that first person was. Perhaps it happened by accident. A bundle of dried plants thrown onto a campfire, smoke filling the air, laughter where there had been silence, visions where there had been only darkness. Or perhaps it was curiosity, one more experiment in humanity's oldest laboratory, nature itself. That moment was never written down. No monument marks its location. No name survives. Yet it may have changed the course of human culture in ways we are only beginning to understand. Because once a society discovers that consciousness itself can be altered, an entirely new question emerges. Not how to survive, but what the mind is truly capable of becoming. From that moment onward, cannabis ceased to be just another plant. It became a doorway, not necessarily to another world, but to another experience of this one. And that distinction may have shaped religions, ceremonies, myths, and entire systems of belief long before the first philosophers ever asked what consciousness actually is. Today, debates about cannabis often revolve around laws, medicine, or recreation. Ancient humans would likely have found those arguments strangely incomplete. To them, the plant may have represented something neither legal nor illegal, neither sacred nor forbidden. Simply a bridge, a fragile attempt to cross the invisible distance between the ordinary world and whatever they believed existed beyond it. Perhaps that is why this story continues to fascinate us. Not because it is about cannabis, but because it is about a question that has followed our species since the first fires were lit beneath the night sky. Why do humans keep searching for ways to step outside themselves? Across continents, across thousands of years, and across countless civilizations, the tools have changed. The rituals have changed. The beliefs have changed. But the impulse has remained remarkably constant, to look beyond the edge of ordinary perception, to understand death, to seek meaning, to feel connected to something larger than the self. In the end, the oldest smoke ever breathed may never have been about escaping reality. It may have been humanity's earliest attempt to understand it. And perhaps that is the most enduring mystery of all. Long before we learned to write history, we were already searching for another way to see it.